Hey guys, the HORRORman back with yet another tag video. This tag features 8 sci-fi horror related questions and was created by BRONCOJUGGALO Talks Movies, and he's also the one who tagged me. I'm going to leave his channel link below. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please go do so. He definitely deserves more subscribers. He has a great channel and I especially enjoy his movie reviews. And now, on to the tag questions. Question number 1 asks, what is your favorite sci-fi horror, monster, or killer? For this one, I have to go with The Blob. This is of course the 1988 remake, which I prefer to the original film, and I just love The Blob, both the movie and the monster itself. I mean, it did come from space, so I'm hoping that, that counts. I definitely consider this to be sci-fi horror in that aspect. That's where The Blob came from, and it's definitely a great sci-fi monster. I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, just the image alone, of what The Blob can do to you. It can crush you, it can suffocate you, it can get inside you. It's terrible. It's an awesome, awesome monster, and I definitely have to go with that. And as a runner-up, I'd also go with the Incredible Melting Man. I mean, he's just cool. I feel bad for him, it's not really his fault, what happened. He can't control those urges, and he's just a gruesome, gruesome mess, so he definitely deserves some mention here. Question number 2 asks, what is your favorite sci-fi horror movie? I have to go with Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This movie is just horrifying. It's definitely a sequel that I prefer to the original, as I know most people do. I would actually, in some ways, consider this to be a sci-fi slasher. I mean, you have the T-1000 going around, killing everybody that gets in his way, in pretty gruesome ways. So, it definitely has a slasher aspect to it as well, hence probably why I love it so much. But, the Judgment Day scene alone is just, wow. I mean, if that's not horror, then I don't know what is. And of course it's sci-fi, with it being the Terminator and, the time travel and all that. Obviously nobody can debate that. So yeah, if I have to choose my favorite sci-fi horror film, it's definitely T2. But a very close runner-up for this question would be Fortress. I love this movie. And as I mentioned in another video, with the exception of Dolls, this is probably my favorite Stuart Gordon film. And yes, over From Beyond, over Reanimator, I love this movie. So yeah, this would probably be my second choice for favorite sci-fi horror movie. And actually, even though I've considered Chopping Mall to be more of a slasher film than sci-fi horror, I know a lot of people do consider this to be a sci-fi horror film. So in that case, Chopping Mall would be my absolute favorite. I love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite slasher films of all time. So if you do consider this to be a sci-fi horror movie because of the killer robots, then this is in fact my favorite sci-fi horror film. Question 3 asks, what is the worst sci-fi horror film of all time? Now, because I'm only going to be including movies that I actually own, I have to go with Resident Evil for this one. I know there are a lot of fans of these movies, and I do enjoy them. I do. I like the film. But out of all the sci-fi horror films that I own, this is probably my least favorite. I think it's because I grew up playing the video games and I expected the movies to be a bit more like them, so I was disappointed when I first watched this, but over the years, watching this one and watching the sequels, I do enjoy it, and my wife actually really enjoys this series. But for this one, I have to go with Resident Evil as my least favorite sci-fi horror film. Question 4 is, what is your favorite death in a sci-fi horror film? The one that immediately came to mind for this is Event Horizon, and I'm talking about the scene when they find out what happened to the crew. I don't really want to say much more than that, because if you haven't seen this movie, it's definitely not worth spoiling. It's definitely a movie that you need to see without any spoilers. And yeah, I would definitely say that scene, finding out, what was left of the crew. So Event Horizon has my favorite sci-fi horror death. Question number 5 asks, what is your favorite sci-fi horror weapon or tool? I really like Bronco Juggalo's answer for this one. He said The Cabin from The Cabin in the Woods. He included that as sci-fi horror, and I love, that he thought of that. You guys know I love that film, and that was definitely a great answer. But I'm actually going to go with something similar here, and I'm going to say The Cube from Cube. I mean, first of all, this is just a fantastic movie. I would also, rank this up there in my top sci-fi horror films. Probably number 3, actually. So, as much as I love the film, it's really all about that cube. I mean, the cube that they're in is just, it's masterful. It's just, I can't imagine waking up in the cube with all those different rooms and not knowing which one is safe, which one is not. It's just amazing. I love the rotations of the cube and them trying to figure out, which room to go in. Should they go up, down, left, right? If you guys have seen the film, I'm sure you've enjoyed it as well. I don't know too many people who have seen this movie and didn't enjoy it. So yeah, I gotta go with The Cube from Cube for my favorite sci-fi horror weapon or tool. Question number 6 asks, what is your favorite non-sci-fi horror franchise that features a sci-fi horror film? And for me, it's not Friday the 13th, it's not Leprechaun, it's Hellraiser. Hellraiser 4, Bloodline. I loved seeing Pinhead in space, and to be honest, at first, I really didn't care for it all that much, but this one really grew on me. It was probably one of my least favorite in the franchise for a while, prior to some of the more recent sequels, but, I wasn't really a fan of this one, basically. But over time, the more I watched it, I actually grew to actually love this film. I especially love the ending, the scene that takes place, the final scene that takes place in space on the space shuttle. I love how this one ends, that last scene with Pinhead. It's just very memorable for me. I thought it was fantastic. And, as I said, I didn't like this one for a long time, but watching it now, it's pretty cool how they go back and forth between, the space futuristic scenes, the past, and even the present. So I've got to go with Hellraiser 4 Bloodline for my favorite sci-fi horror installment in a non-sci-fi horror franchise. Number 7 simply asks, what is your favorite sci-fi horror franchise? I have to go with the obvious answer here, Alien. I like all the films. I mean, I haven't seen Alien Covenant yet, so I really can't comment on that one. But the first 4 films, I enjoyed all of them. At one time, I actually really loved Alien 3. Haven't watched that one in years, but, the last time I saw it, I actually really, really enjoyed that one. And I know that one gets a lot of heat, gets a lot of hate, too, from people. But I've always enjoyed that one. So yeah, gotta go with Alien. The original Alien film is probably one of the scariest, sci-fi horror films of all time. I mean, being trapped in the space shuttle with an alien loose, just is something so scary about it, and it was just that one alien. For me, that made it scarier than even Aliens. I know a lot of people prefer Aliens to the first film, and I'm not saying that I don't prefer Aliens, but as far as horror goes, the first film is just scarier to me. And the 8th and final question asks, which non-sci-fi horror character would I like to see shot into space? And for this one, I'll say possessed Reagan from The Exorcist. Just get her out of here. Well, it's my turn to tag now, so Jason from Horrific Nightmares, Nick, the last Shoegazer, and Ted from the horror section, you guys are it. I will leave all 3 of their channel links below in the description, along with Bronco Juggalo Talks Movies. Be sure to subscribe to all of them if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.